in place. Now, in hindsight, it seems like a pretty clear death sentence, which is what makes it so strange that it passed largely unnoticed at the time and with bipartisan support. And the effect was almost immediate, because the Postal Service went from reporting a net income of $900 million in 2006 to a loss of $3.8 billion just 3 years later. And good luck selling enough dope-ass lace stamps to get yourself out of that hole. So the truth is, the Postal Service's problems aren't entirely from the fact that we started using email or even the 2008 recession. In fact, it's been estimated that the stipulations of this one law have accounted for approximately 74% of their net losses since it passed. And that is despite them shedding over 100,000 jobs. And the fact they were so badly hobbled by an act of Congress makes it a little infuriating that some, like former Fox News commentator John Stossel, hold it up as a sign that government agencies are just naturally bloated and incompetent.
Another myth. Government can run the post office like a business. But real businesses can't lose billions every year. 16 billion last year. FedEx, UPS, and others make billions because they innovate and cut costs.
Okay, there's a lot wrong with that, but he is right that FedEx is pretty good at innovating. For example, you've probably seen the arrow hidden in the FedEx logo, but did you know that for years there also used to be a swastika hidden in the D? Yeah, once you see it, like the arrow, you can't unsee it, but they took it out because businesses have to innovate. Now, what Stossel is advocating for there, and what many Conservatives would prefer, is for the Postal Service to be privatised. But there are some huge drawbacks to that idea. For starters, as you may have noticed, FedEx and UPS charge a fuck of a lot more to deliver than the Postal Service does. Also, those remote addresses that they are obligated to deliver to aren't just difficult to get to, they're not profitable. And in all likelihood, companies would cut those routes off, meaning a lot of people would lose access. And to his credit, John Stossel fully acknowledges that, although basically says in response, tough shit.
The Constitution says Congress has the power to establish post offices. It doesn't have to, and it doesn't have to deliver mail to all of America.
Who says there needs to be universal service? If I live way out in the boondocks, I can get email.
Now, it's hard to decide what I like least about that, his dismissive attitude towards rural Americans, the incorrect assumption that email is a decent substitute for the Postal Service, conveniently glossing over the fact that an estimated 42 million people lack access to broadband internet, or the unfortunate fact that John Stossel looks like what would happen if someone tried to queer-eye Geraldo Rivera, but it didn't really work. And again, the Postal Service is a literal lifeline for many Americans. It reportedly delivered 1.2 billion prescriptions last year, including close to 100% of prescriptions from the VA. And while you might be able to buy medicine online, you can't actually download medicine from the internet. To clarify, you can download the medicine, Jeremy Renner's collection of music-like noises from the internet, but, and this is very important, you shouldn't do that. And then there's the potential business impacts of privatisation. Small businesses would immediately be affected if service was reduced, like this rock engraving company in rural Kansas.
Fisher Rock is another company that uses the local post office to ship some of their smaller products.
Just about every day we mail out something. I hate to see them lose our post office in Home City. It's handy for businesses like myself just to run in there and get postage and mail out rocks.
Yeah. It would be a real shame if that business couldn't mail out its rocks, like this one that says, real women heart little wieners, or this one that says, the grass is greener under my wiener. I mean, that's a perfect rock right there. If the Postal Service stopped delivering gut busters like that, it would be a fucking
come on, get
tragedy.
on with it, Jesus.
Although, not for me, to be honest, since I already bought mine. I want to say, it's definitely funnier in person. One of the funniest things about it is how genuinely heavy this is. And look, it's not just small businesses. Companies like FedEx and UPS often hand off their packages to the Postal Service for the last leg of the delivery, especially in rural areas. Amazon also contracts many of its deliveries out to it, and that, weirdly enough, brings us to one of the biggest things standing